All right, folks, welcome once again, everybody, to Irish Sports Daily Power Hour. I am your host here, Mike Frank, with Jamie Uyeyama, and we have our good buddy Greg Flamong back from the big trip to South Bend, and he is producing the show and doing a great job as always. Um, Before we get going, I wanted to mention once again, it's a great time to sign up for Irish Sports Daily. You can go to the front page of irishsportsdaily.com, click on the premium section, and sign up today. Also, if you want to listen to the show live, you can find us on YouTube, search for Irish Sports Daily, and you can find our live broadcast or watch it afterwards. It's always there. And if you'd rather kind of watch the show and look at the chat and all that type of stuff, you can go to our YouTube channel on search for Irish Sports Daily. We'd also request that you would subscribe and like the channel. We'd love that. That certainly helps us and gets us exposure to even more fans. Before we get going, also, I want to mention our first sponsor, and I want to start with H2 Pickleball. We've been promoting this, and they have their first event, which will be a tournament before the Purdue game this weekend. Medal rounds will be played on Friday at the Steppens Center on campus, and will also feature exhibition matches between Holtz heroes Reggie Brooks and Steve Berline versus Golden Legacy, which is Josh Lugg and Ian Book. That sounds like it'd be pretty fun for Irish fans to go out there and check
Lug
it out.
out there. Love
yeah,
it.
yeah. So Reggie Brooks and Steve Berline versus Josh Lugg and Ian Book. Portion of the proceeds will go to the Rockney Athletics Fund to support our student athletes. Contact Todd at h2pickleball.com. Once again, that's Todd at h2pickleball.com. Or you can call him at 574-339-5195 to join the league. And be sure to visit H2 Pickleball facility in Mishawaka when you're in town. H2 Pickleball is located at 55801 Evergreen Plaza in Mishawaka. All right, Yama. Boy, it's interesting. We just got done watching the Marcus Freeman press conference, and it's interesting because there's so many opinions out there right now, and I don't think that people like if you go read the chat from the press conference, so many people just don't really understand Marcus Freeman and when he says things, and maybe I'm crazy. Yeah, you really do. And in this, he was saying what people wanted to hear. They just don't know it. And basically, he kept saying, look, we have to evaluate if what we're asking them to do is too much. And that's kind of what you and I talked about on the postgame show. It's obvious if you know Marcus Freeman like we do, he's trying to tell you something there, but he's not going to throw his coaches under the bus. He doesn't want to throw the players under the bus. And I thought he did a better job in the press conference of saying, look, yeah, the players aren't executing, but we have to ask ourselves as coaches, what are we saying to them that it's not the communication is not working? And that's what he's trying to get down to. And so, I think people they read too much into what he says in the literal word, and they don't know how to look into kind of the hidden message behind the scene type of thing. Now, I don't know for a fact that that's what they're going to do, but to me, just based off of all our experience in talking with Marcus Freeman and all the press conferences, that's kind of what he does when he says something he's going to change. And let's be honest, why would he tell everybody what he's going to do? What is the advantage of that other than Irish fans want to hear it? Your thoughts?
The press conference isn't for the fans.
No.
It's not, right? He's doing it because it's part of the job. You have to do it. And guess what? He always does it. He always shows up. And people might not like the answers, but it's because he's not just saying like, I'm firing Chris Ash or I'm doing this or whatever. But he is never going to throw his guys under the bus. He just never does. But if you look at like everything he said, if you watch the film, you watch the game, you evaluate all the things he says when he's talking about how, well, we got to do a better job of like why this guy didn't play a certain technique. And like, maybe we weren't doing it at the right speed because of like what, Concepcion, he runs at a different speed than some of the other guys that were showing them, giving a look. And if you read between the lines, it's talking about how, hey, obviously Christian Gray, we did not prepare him for this because he was getting cooked. He was getting cooked and he wasn't getting hands on that receiver and he was given free release. And he can't just win in a straight race with that guy. So he has to do something that he was not playing it right. But he's not going to come out and say, hey, Christian Gray did a terrible job. Like he just won't do that. Like that's not what he's about. I mean, they're going to address that kind of thing in film. Like Mike Mickens is going to get on him. Like, Freeman is going to get on him, but they're not going to point out like all these specific things to call people out. And specifically what you said too, about like the thing with talking about like, we got to evaluate like what we want to do, like in terms of like, if we're asking them to do this and we got to do it better, like basically saying they did a poor job coaching. Like that.
I think that's exactly what he said. Yeah.
It's exactly what he said.
I don't think people understood that either. And they looked at it as, you're blaming players and things like that. And I would say after the press conference, after the game, I could see that a little bit more because he didn't kind of say those types of things.
He talked about execution, but he didn't lay it out like this.
He didn't exactly lay out why the execution problems were. Greg wants to throw some thoughts in here. Go ahead, buddy.
I just want to say I completely agree with that. I was listening to him and I was transcribing for the site, and so putting up on the press conference things. Like when he says, are we asking them to do the things that they can do? Did we get them ready for this game in the way that Texas A&M was going to play? I mean, he said execution because he also said every call is called for a reason, and we believe that they can do it. But like, if they can't, then why not? I mean, it was clear to me that he thought they were not prepared and they were not in the right spots to do the things that kind of highlight their strengths as players. That was how I took it. So I wanted to make it clear that I agree with you guys. Like to me, it was, he doesn't throw coaches or anyone under the bus. That was listening to Marcus Freeman and Marcus Freeman speak. It's exactly what he was saying. He was not happy with the way that the team was prepared. That was how I took it.
Yeah, I agree too. And I think there is some things that he said, like about the defensive line, where I think he was a little bit more critical of maybe their effort and stuff like that. And we'll talk about that here in a minute, Jamie. And it's interesting because when I rewatched the game, I would have said maybe the effort in the Miami game was not as good as this game as far as the front. I'll get your opinion on that here in a minute. But the other thing that I think people need to understand is when he said, are we putting them in the best positions to be successful? I think what he's saying, I mean, like Christian Gray, you go out and you recruit tall corners and big corners because you want them to play physical. And that's what Christian Gray is good at. He's not as fast as some of these other guys. So you're going to have to play more physical to knock somebody off their route, to get some sort of advantage. He's not the type of guy that can just turn and run with everybody. And Leonard Mueller, I think, is maybe a little bit more of that. But when you're 6'2", I mean, look at the way they
how
played.
Physical he was on that interception.
Yeah, certainly. Well, even was his name Webb, the Texas A&M guy? What was his name? Webb, the corner.
Oh, Lee or Ricks.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Yeah. I mean, that guy's physical. I mean, he tried to jam Malachi Fields.
Yeah, Will Lee.
Yeah. So when you're corners are good at certain things, right? And each corner is going to have a weakness. And to me, I think that's where they've struggled is you're taking away what they can do well and making them do something that they can't do very well by playing this. And I do think Marcus is right in that. And he has the right to say the defense, we haven't changed the defense. Well, that's probably true in terms and terminology.
Like the structure. Yes.
Yeah. And that's probably true in that. But what they're asked to do, I think, is different. And I think what he was trying to tell people is that, hey, look, I looked at this and I'm just not happy with the way things are going and how we're coaching them. And that's the way I took it. And maybe I'm crazy, but I think you'll see something different in the defense this coming week. I don't think it's going to be drastic because I think Marcus, it's not like Marcus and Chris Ash didn't have this conversation before he hired him. I'm sure Marcus realized, hey, we're going to have to become a better zone team. And you do. You got to become a better zone team. And guess what? You can't be a good zone team unless you play zone defense. You can't get good at it unless you try it. But should you be doing that against the very best teams on your schedule, or should you be doing that against Purdue and some of these other teams that are coming up that maybe aren't quite as can hurt you nearly as bad as a team like Texas A&M and some of the speed of their receivers? Your thoughts here, Jamie?
Well, yeah, no, I think you have to know. Well, that's part of the thing where you have to adjust based on that first game and say, this is what we're going to do. Also, based on the opponent you're going to play, and say, like, hey, these are these guys' strengths. We have to change this. And I think one of the things when he was talking about the defensive line, and he was like, well, because the defensive line like didn't play horrible, but they were not winning straight rushing for like at all. Or minimally. Like I saw somebody say they got one pressure in the game when they rushed for. That is not true, but whatever. But one of the things that they did in this game, which was it was an overcorrection to trying to keep Reed in the pocket. So that's why Boubacar was not a factor in the game, was because there was a play where he had a thing where he had the edge, but he got a little bit too far upfield. And instead of like trying to bend it back, he was like, oh, he saw Reed step up in the pocket. So he went back, and it looks like he's playing patty cake, but he is really just like keeping him in the pocket because it was so clearly he's making sure that guy he stays in the pocket there. And on that exact same play, there was an overreaction from Tate Johnson, who, Freeman pointed out played really well, and he did. But on this particular play, Tate Johnson, it was that one where they ran Craver across the middle of the field, and he's got to come down to that. But what he saw was Reed step up, look like he was going to run, and he reacted to that, where he still has to play his responsibility, right? He didn't play his responsibility because he was just thinking run right away.
Get him. Yeah.
And then he froze, and then he got caught, and then that's why that play happened, right?
Yeah.
And there was just a lot of stuff like that too, where I think there was a lot of like freezing, and they weren't playing fast because I was talking with Matt Freeman, a little bit about Carson Hobbs in this game. And I actually think Carson Hobbs, if you watch him, like his good reps, like there was a play where they tried to run a pivot route with Craver. And I mean, everybody saw Craver in this game. The guy's an exceptional athlete, and he was there step for step with him. It was a great, great job. He is more than capable of doing that kind of thing. But when you see him make mistakes, it's because he's overthinking or he's guessing. And like the play with Amari Niblack, where it should have hit for a touchdown, Reed missed Niblack. And it was a different play, but it was the same kind of play the same mistake that Jalen Stroman made earlier in the game, where Stroman thought bubble, and then he ran to it, and then it turned into a wheel, and he was cooked, right? And obviously the tackling after was terrible. But on the Niblack play, it was the same kind of thing, except for they're not running a bubble with the tight end. Why are you thinking this? It was just in his mind, and you see him step, and it was like trying to catch up was too late. It was too late. Like, and maybe that's preparation where he didn't think that was going to happen, and he has to know that. Or maybe that's just like him not sticking on his assignment. Because I would say that there's so many things in this game when I watch the defense where specifically the secondary, where they're just not assignment sound in the same ways. And yes, it's not just like the absence of Xavier Watts. Obviously, Xavier Watts is there. He's making a play or whatever. Like that would help things. But it wasn't like he told everyone what to do on everything and no one else knew. Like obviously Leonard Moore is still very assignment sound, right? But Christian Gray in this game was like, and you could tell he is so uncomfortable in zone, in like knowing exactly where his drop is, how to react to it. And that isn't to his strength. And he's just all over the place. Yeah. And he had a horrible game. It was the worst game that Christian Gray has played at Notre Dame. And he's a better football player than that. Like, even in his games where he had rough games, that wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. And D-Rock Irish says Gray is getting worse. In terms of how he's played that, it's like he is so in his head, and with all of it, like that is a guy that they have to unlock and say, like, this is exactly what we need to get back to with him. And I absolutely think they, personnel wise too, like they missed Devonta Smith in this game. Big time. Big time. Like Hobbs was just, like I said, there's a lot of things like remind me of Tariq Bracy before Bracy was like, when he got benched, when early on, right? Where you're like, Bracy's a chance to be a good player, but he wasn't ready yet. And then you saw later on, Bracy became an unbelievable nickel, like a very, very good player. But it took him time there, and Hobbs wasn't ready to play a full game at nickel. And there's just a lot of that there where it just, I mean, it is from all phases of the defense. Cause I mean, I will say that I think the linebackers played much better against the run in this game. And I think obviously they were playing downhill and they called it better for them too. And there's some consistency issues up front with the defensive line, and they weren't doing enough to help those guys schematically in terms of getting those guys like doing different things to set up free rushers or confusing the offensive, the protection. There's just not a lot of that. And that is like basically Al Golden. That is Al Golden's defense, is like confused protection, sound in the back end. And that is just, that was completely missing.
Go ahead, Greg.
I wanted to talk about the Gray piece because there was the play that he got hurt on. It was cover 2. They ran basically a seam corner, and he's sitting right there. It's got to be intercepted. It needs to be intercepted 10 out of 10 times. Or not intercept. It needs to be broken up 10 out of 10. It cannot be completed. It's 3rd and long. If you break it up, you're off the field. Then he gets hurt. Then you bring in Zachary, and the ball goes over his head, and it's at the 1 yard line. It's going to be an interception, right? And it's like that's the type of thing where you look at the scheme, right? So we have scheme questions all the time. The coverage is scheming up an interception there. He's not getting it. The other part, to Jamie's point, he's all over the place in his head. There were so many times in this game where the ball doesn't get thrown to him. He's on the backside or whatever. He's just getting cooked. He's lost. And he's looking around like, he's looking for help. He's wondering why someone isn't covering for the guy that he just sent wide open over the middle. He is, and to your point, Jamie, that is Carson Hobbs is in the same boat. And I think the point that I made yesterday, and I apologize, I'm coming in on this show a lot more than normal because I haven't talked to you guys yet. Normally I've talked to you guys about it already. Carson Hobbs is going through the thing that Notre Dame let Jordan Clark go through at Arizona State. And they let Thomas Harper go through at Oklahoma State. Exactly. They were made players before they came to Notre Dame.
Correct.
Carson Hobbs is going through all the – because –
That's why you go get Devonta Smith.
That's why you go get him, because you have a made player and you don't need to have – you don't want to have to go through this. Because you said, Jamie, Carson Hobbs has good reps, but he also has ugly reps. And you're going to get that with a redshirt freshman who hasn't played nickel, and he's going against –
first 2 games of
and he's going against Craver, who is just obviously next level, ready to play better than him right now. He's going to lose reps, and that's what you get. It's unfortunate for him, and that's what
a different level than he was last year at Mississippi State.
Right,
like there's all that.
That's why Notre Dame has always got that 5th-year nickel, because you know what you're getting, and it's over and over again.
I'll have to say, I thought Colin Klein did a really good job of using his personnel in this game. I mean, he really did a tremendous job. And I like his route concepts too, and what he tries to do and how he schemes a guy to get open. And so we got to give that guy credit. I thought he did a really good job and got his playmakers the ball in advantageous situations. And that's his job as an offensive coordinator. So, and let's be honest, I mean, he still managed to get 360 yards passing out of a 46% passer. That's remarkable.
That is the thing too that really should make Notre Dame, like everyone on their defense, upset. Is Reed isn't good. He's
Mhm.
like, he's got a cannon for an arm. He can make big time throws, but he is not a good quarterback. Like, he's a good athlete. He's got a big arm. If Notre Dame was on their P's and Q's like they were last year,
Mhm.
he would have been exposed, and like it could have been bad for him. He would have had a bad day, and he still would have. They would have made plays because Craver's a player and Concepcion a player. Those guys would have made plays. Yes, all of that would have happened, but you're not giving up 40 in the game, and he's probably completing like 30, less than 40% in the game because of that, and because anytime he was 25% when he got pressured. That was his completion percent. When he got pressured, they just didn't get enough pressure on him. And I mean, there was just things there too. Like I wrote about this in the rewatch notes for the defense too. And I don't know about you, Mike, but this has really stood out to me, especially because in the red zone, like they give up 6 of 8 touchdowns in the red zone, 8 red zone possessions so far this year. They've given up in this game, A&M had the ball inside Endy's 48 times. They scored 7 of them. The only one they didn't score was the one at the half where they kicked the 52-yard field goal
And missed,
right? That was it. Like, that is just the complete opposite of what occurred under Al Golden. Because when they got into those areas under Al Golden, that was when you call the game differently in that area of the field because the field's shrunken, right? And obviously, too, you're calling things to try to get off the field during the things, or to try to force a long field goal, or to try to get a punt here instead of a thing. And then when you get in the red zone, you know the DBs, you can play it different because
you should play it. Yes.
Yeah.
Less space.
But when you're not calling things to like, that was when it was like, you just knew it was like every time. And most defensive coordinators like this, a lot of them are, you ratchet up the pressure. You do a lot of things differently that you do. You're not going to do that on, the minus 30, right? When they have it at the Texas A&M 30, you're probably not going to run 6-man pressure, but you can run 6-man pressure when it's on the 12-yard line. Like you probably should a lot of times because the ball has to come out fast, and if the ball isn't coming out fast, and then your guys have to either, they know the ball has to come out fast, they have to make a play on it, or they're throwing it up and they're doing it. Like, you don't have to worry about getting just smoked by you during that thing. You can be more physical, all of these things. And that is just, I think too, like Greg and I were speaking about this too, that is one thing. I mean, there's a lot of things going on with the defense, but one thing that has really stood out is like Ash, for all the stuff, like they've been good on third down for the most part. Like they've been actually done a pretty good job on third down, but there's just a lack of understanding of like the moment of when to call, like, we're heating it up here. Or hey, this is the time that we're going to do this. Like the end of game sequence, like I understand, like, you don't want to have Reed scramble and make a play there, and you're worried about him making a play. But 3 straight calls where you're rushing 3 and with a spy. I mean, they ran it and like running a stunt there, so they're not doing some movement. I mean, maybe you don't want to rush 6 because you're worried about just like one guy missing and then all of a sudden he breaks free and scores. You can't rush 4 with the spy. Like you can't, like, just to change something else on the 4th down when you do it 3 straight times. It's just bound to, you're not doing anything to challenge. Like you're not dictating anything. They're dictating to you. And I don't know. Like that kind of thing. I totally understand. Like, they did it. There was a low percentage of completions versus the blitz for Reed in the game, but they also hit on a couple big ones too. So you don't want to get burned. So yeah, you don't want to be over aggressive with the blitz and some things. In some areas of the field, because I get it, because you aren't confident that Gray can cover or Hobbs can cover in these situations. But when it's short area of the field, it's different. It's totally different. And
There's not a lot of space. There's not a lot of space. Yeah.
I just don't see that. Like, I saw that like basically once against Miami when they got that stop, the one where they ran that game where Botello ran the stunt with Dawson where he knocked it down. That's the only time I've seen that kind of pressure from Notre Dame's defense in the red area. And I just watch that. I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, that's a mistake. It's just, that is, if we're talking about, okay, this is Notre Dame's defense, that is Notre Dame's defense.
Oh,
and
totally.
it's also good defense. So that needs to change. You can't be like the red zone was bad in Golden's first year, but I don't even think the scheme was bad. It was just like, some of it was luck. Some guys just getting beat on jump balls and stuff like that. This is different. I don't think like what they're running there isn't helping the players.
He's very risk averse, and I get it to some points. You don't want to give up some big plays, but if you're giving them up anyway, what does it matter? So it's at some point, and this is what I said from the very first game. You took what was great about this defense and you took it away, which is their aggressive style of play. And that's what these guys are good at. That's what they're doing well. And that's what they've done well. That's what, when you watch the film, that's what they did well when you got here. So I don't understand the need to change it. I've said that, even after the Miami game, there was no reason to change it. But, as a first-time defensive coordinator, you also don't want to be the reason you lose a game. So I understand sometimes when a new guy comes in, they want to be a little bit conservative and that type of thing. But you're going to have to turn some things loose in order for this to get them to start playing the way that they were. I will say I thought the effort was better in this game, on defense. I thought the level of the compete level, I thought the energy was better in this game. It's just the results weren't. Marcus talked about the defensive line. I think Heinisch had a really good game for the most part. I thought he had a great
huge bounce back game for him.
Yeah, I mean, he played so much better. And some of the other guys, I'm not sure the interior wise had that great of a game. But
Rubio, I thought, played well.
Yeah, and he did. Yeah.
But Anya and Dawson did not play well.
Yeah, Dawson didn't play very well at all, which was surprising. Defensive ends, just not getting what you're hoping for there. I thought Junior did some nice things. I thought Junior, and he's a baller. He's going to go out there and fight you. And Boubacar, I think is going to be really good. And I like his energy and what he's doing, but you just haven't seen enough from anybody else. Bryce Young, it's surprising Bryce Young isn't in there half the time when they're rushing the passer. That's surprising. And I don't know. Josh Burnham, it's just, it's kind of,
I don't know if he was hurt or if he,
I know. That's what I was saying. He was completely not in there. So, when you look at defense as a whole, Jamie, I mean, what do you see are the major issues here?
I mean, it really starts with secondary. I think that's,
would you say it's confusion more than anything?
Absolutely. It's confusion. You just never saw, and I get it. It's early in the season, but even early in the season, you never saw these kind of, everyone's going to hit you. They're going to get, the other team's got coaches that are paid highly too. They're going to get you with schemes sometimes, right? They're going to catch you. I get it. Sometimes you get beat. I get it. The level of we don't know, the call wasn't in right away, or we don't know the call, or it didn't get echoed, or there was a check that didn't that has just been glaring at the beginning of the season.
Totally.
And it's in both games. And that's the thing that's 100% the thing you expect to get fixed after that first game.
Yeah,
and
especially
that was
with 2 weeks, especially with 2 weeks.
That was not fixed. And maybe a lot of that had to do with Smith being hurt in warmups and they didn't think he's going to go. And then all of a sudden Hobbs gets stuck in, and maybe they were not going to play Hobbs barely at all in this game. And then he has to do it. That could be part of it for sure. but I mean, there's just so much there on the back end where I think you see that, and you have to question like it. So if Smith can't play in this, first of all, Leonard Moore can't play. Man, they need him to play. They need him to play. Obviously, you got to get one of these other young corners. Is probably going to be Zachary, obviously, based on whatever. Poor Zachary is getting thrown in there in the worst possible situations. I don't blame him. It's not. He's just getting put in bad situations there.
Yeah.
Like you just get thrown in the game in that type of thing. It's same situation really against Miami too. Like that's tough, right? That's tough. So, but let's just say Moore. So Moore and Smith are listed as questionable. So if Moore doesn't play, obviously that's a big, big deal. If Smith doesn't play, I really think if Schuler was playing in the first half, you would probably say we got to look at Tay Johnson here at nickel because he obviously has rep there before. And I think first of all, he's capable of covering man. He's capable of doing a lot of different things from that spot, I think. And Tay Johnson, I think it's pretty obvious. He played more in this game, and he's just going to take over as a guy who plays more and more. And he just finds the football too. Like he's going to get better and better. So I think you could feel really good about him and his future. But that nickel spot is going to be a question until you hear that Smith is either healthy or, maybe they shift some stuff there. And they have to, obviously simplify, do things, get back to basics there and make sure they're doing the right things and not asking those guys too much because it's clearly they are asking them too much if there's that much confusion there. And I just want to point out too, because I know I thought the Schuler, that targeting call was a bogus call. Like that's not he literally where he's going, he's cut tackling that guy. And Reed ducked his head so low. Like there has to be some culpability for the runner too, especially when it's a guy who's running. It's not like he's sat back in the pocket and he's launching his head at his head there. That was a bad call. In saying that, Adon Schuler has had chances to make plays in the first couple games and not obvious, the obvious.
He's not been good. Yeah.
He's not
missed some very obvious easy tackles. Really
and
has, but go ahead.
Plays that he finished last year.
Yeah.
And they need him to finish because when we're talking about Havoc, he's been there to make those plays. He just hasn't finished. So they really, really need him to get back to that previous level.
Yeah. But I think, the targeting call, it's one thing if the guy is sliding or, trying to give up his body, and he was not in any way, shape, or form, So I just thought that was a bad call. It really was. And, we can talk about the holding and all that type of stuff on the last play. And it's like, they held Bryce Young too. I mean, they tackled him too. People talk about the Heinisch one, but both those guys got tackled. It was crazy. But anyway.
And there was actually some more plays like that too that happened where they tackled guys and
they just let it go.
It was bad. Those guys should get fired.
That was not good. I did not.
I have no sympathy for them. Fire them.
Let's switch to something positive because there was positive, Jamie. And on the rewatch, I felt even better about it. I really did. This offense is getting close, man. They're getting close. Ashton Craig, I thought, did really well at times, but he struggled one-on-one against, was it 11, the nose guard at times when he had to just block him one-on-one. Sometimes he got slipped really quick. That guy was quick, by the way, for his size. This game. Yeah. And I was like, he struggled sometimes when he had to block him one-on-one. Billy, I thought, was good. I thought it was a better game for Gerby, but Gerby needs to, when he locks on, he needs to keep on. That's where he's struggling the most. Boy, when he locks on, he looks like Charles. He can move some people in there. And when he locks on,
second game for him.
Yeah. When he locks on, he will move some real estate. And he did a nice job in there. Too many times he lost his hold on his guy and the guy would slip him. Now that's just second game starting. But when you saw the good in Gerby, I'm feeling pretty good. We saw the Anthony Knapp in the run game that we are used to seeing in this game. Anthony Knapp was much better in the run game than he was. I thought Eli Raridan was very solid in blocking most of the time, not always. I thought Ty Washington did some good things in the blocking up front. I still hate the fact that they lined so many people in the box and they put all these tight ends there. They bring their slots in there. And it's just like you got two backs who are extremely elusive, right? All they need is a crease. And you're trying to hit a home run and you're putting all these bodies in there. I don't understand that. I would love to ask Mike Denbrock about the thought behind this because I don't think it makes sense personally, especially with those two types of backs with that kind of speed and explosion. I would like to see that change. I'm not, 40-year offensive coordinator coach that's been in there for a long time. So sometimes I don't know as much as him, and I know I don't know near as much as him, but I would like to see that. But O-line I thought was good. I thought it was not great. There were too many busts, but for a second game, that's kind of what you'll see is they'll be good at times, real good at times. The other thing I liked about it, lots of discipline, not a lot of holding, not a lot of false starts. That's something you usually see. Didn't see a lot of that in the first couple games. That's encouraging. I mean, man, you got two great backs. And I mean, just watching the receivers, they got dudes, man. I wouldn't say they're elite, but these guys can get open. They can make plays. Faison dropped the one ball. Malachi Fields, I thought, had a couple drops, but I thought they were just good plays by that corner. I mean, he's a good player.
He's a good player.
Yeah, you got to have strong hands, but you want strong hands. But I'm telling you, it's difficult when a guy can get in there and pop that ball out. And so I like what I see offensively. Eli's becoming the player we thought in the past game. There are pieces here, and that's what I was kind of upset about. Is we were a little bit concerned about the offense going in. It's flipped right now. I feel like the offense is on the verge of becoming a pretty damn good offense. And we haven't even talked about CJ, which we're going to in a minute. But it's flipped. We were all concerned about the offense going, yeah, I don't know. It's going to take a while, but I'm game 2. I'm feeling pretty good about this. Now, did I love every call that Mike Denbrock made? No. But you could say that about every offensive coordinator across the country. Did I love them doing so much in Wildcat? No. I don't understand why you keep CJ Carr on the field. If you're going to run Wildcat that much, just take him off the field. Put somebody out there to block that's can block. So I get it in some regards, but man, I just think this offense is close. They're close to being something that could be pretty fun to watch here. I think as the season goes along, they're going to be pretty good. And unfortunately, I think Notre Dame's going to probably have to outscore some teams to win. But I like the personnel. I think it's pretty good. Your thoughts here?
Yeah. Chief Brody, CJ going to transfer out of this nightmare? I mean, I think I feel pretty good if I was him about how the offense is looking. I mean,
yeah.
The other thing is they know that they're going to have they know they have the talent on defense and also the class they're bringing in too. But I think there's so much positive with the offense in this game, especially so I don't know if you saw it, but Ryan Harris, he mentioned, I guess, on the radio call that Carr was tipping run and pass with his stance and that. So obviously that is something that A&M knew, maybe Miami knew too. When you think about that, and then you think about the job the offensive line did in this game, I would say they were outstanding if you give that context to it.
Sure.
Because that is such a huge advantage for defensive linemen to know when it's a run or pass. It is everything as a defensive lineman to know this is definitely a pass, this is definitely a run. So I thought that they held up pretty well in pass pro. There was a lot of time for him to make throws when he needed that extra time. There was obviously a couple of things from CJ where, that were not great, but it's the same thing where like the good just so far outweighed any of the bad. And he just has he made some special plays too. Just made
That's a
some
good
big
hold
time
right there
throw.
on that. That's a good
Oh
hold
yeah,
they're showing there.
they
That's a
never
good
call
hold in
that.
that picture.
They never call that that one because when you do the inside rip, they never call it.
Yeah.
They never call it. So, but I'll say this: like Cassius Howell, he made some plays in the run game. I knew they run at him, don't run away from him because he's going to crash down. But he was not a game wrecker in the pass rush game. He almost made that unbelievable interception, but like he was not a game wrecker in as a pass rusher, and that I think would have been like circled on the for everyone to say like this is a guy who could abuse Notre Dame's tackles, and he really didn't. I thought they handled themselves pretty well for the most part. Like it wasn't like outstanding in every aspect, but it was like so much better than it was. I think there's things where Jadarian Price, obviously he's running the ball really well to begin this year. And I think that's, exciting. I do think he absolutely had way more holes to run through.
Yeah, I agree.
Than Love. So that was a huge benefit.
Love
and I
had
think
to earn his much more, no doubt. Yeah.
And Love obviously made that just in special, one-handed catch and the touchdown and all that. And he had some really big runs with it too. In terms of the Wildcat thing, I don't mind that they're doing it. You just can't do it how they're doing it. Like motioning CJ, take CJ off the field. Because the whole point of having that play when you're running quarterback power is to have the extra blocker in there. Like Aeneas Williams or whoever should come in that extra spot. Or just Ty Washington. They used Ty Washington in that thing, and he ran like, he ran a wham block on the end there. So that is, and then they converted that. So that's something I think, you want to see like change. But I'd like the idea of them doing that. I thought that was a good idea. And I think the receivers too, like Pauling made some really clutch catches in traffic. And those were like plays that people were worried about, like, oh, his hands, he had some drops last year. Like those were big time plays. Those were big time plays in the moment. I thought just one thing you always saw with receivers is like they always got that little bit of extra yak. That was always huge in the game. And I think Notre Dame, like kind of what Freeman said, Notre Dame's got a lot of weapons. And you really kind of saw that, stand out in this game.
I thought the wide receivers did a better job of blocking too. In this
way
game.
better, better,
and that's very, very, very important. CJ Carr. I mean, dude, I am so excited about this guy. I am very excited about CJ Carr. He is calm. There's just nothing that phases this kid. Kind of reminds me of Joe Montana in that regard. He's just kind of cool and calm and just, there's nothing seems to rattle him. And that's 80% of the battle, I think, when you get into these big games. And his accuracy and his ability to make plays when needed. It's just very, very encouraging. And we saw last year how Mike Denbrock, as he got more time with Riley Leonard, started using Leonard as, what's best, what can Leonard do best. And they learned each other and learned about each other. And because of that, I think you'll see the same thing with CJ Carr. I think Denbrock's got to be thrilled that he's played as well as he has. I mean, if you would have told me he played this well in his first two starts, and it's not him, it's any quarterback in this situation, his situation, if you would have told me that, I would have said, no way would a first-time quarterback come out and play as well as he did. Again, you put the game in, the game got put in his hands again, and he delivered again. And so it's just, it's one of those things that certain quarterbacks have it, just like certain coaches have it. I think CJ Carr has it. You know, I want to see him throw the deep ball better, and some of the intermediate routes with a little bit more accuracy. But this guy's a really good quarterback, and he's only going to get better. And you know, I know that there are a lot of teams that they have some young quarterbacks, and people are raving about them right now. But I tell you this, none of those quarterbacks have faced Miami and Texas A&M back to back.
No.
And if they did, they would not look this good. They would not look this good. We saw what Bryce Underwood looked like against Oklahoma. You know what I mean? So this is against good teams with good defenses. So that's what's the most encouraging to me. I'm very, very excited about that. Anything you want to add about that, Yama?
Yeah.
Before we get to Purdue.
I think they should be thrilled with everything they're seeing from Carr, and he's only, he's just scratching the surface of the player he's going to be too. Like, I think a lot of those plays too, where, some of those throws to Fields where he not maybe on the same page, it was like, okay, this should be back shoulder or this, whatever, like that's going to come. And I think also too, like he's going to get more, this game, he's more comfortable throwing over the middle of the field. He saw like there were some tight window throws that he made, right? Like those ones appalling. He hit Eli on one that was like a very good contested catch. And it was like a very tight window too. So I think there's a lot of that where I think you're just going to see growth there. And it's exciting. It's very exciting.
Oh, Greg's popping in. Yeah, well, go ahead.
I want to ask you guys to talk about kind of the template for how Notre Dame wants to play offense. And CJ Carr throws for 293 yards, and Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price run the ball 35 combined times. I mean, it's
pretty good.
That is a marrying of what you want Notre Dame's offense to be. And so I thought I want you guys to kind of touch on that, because I think for me, that's one of the biggest takeaways. Like there is a difference where we talk about the offense or the team is like an 0-2. It's not an 0-2 offense. It could be a 2-0 offense when you consider Miami and the way Notre Dame's usually winning games. That's a victory in a lot of, it's a victory last year. And obviously the A&M game is a clear victory last year. So I just got you guys to talk about, because I feel like they've really unlocked something here. You can get that many touches for your running backs, and your quarterback throws for just under 300 in a non-overtime game. I think that's really what Notre Dame kind of wanted to get out of this game. Obviously a victory, but just the way the offense played.
I completely agree. And I think when you look at the situation, as Jamie pointed out, I mean, if the defense knows that you're running the football, it's a lot harder to gain yards. So I think the only difference that we've seen here from Jeremiah Love and J.D. Price last year to this year is there haven't been as many opportunities for the home run. Well, there's probably a reason for that. They're tipping off what they're doing pre-snap. And I think that gets fixed this week, obviously. But at the same time, you still got a lot of good out of the offense. And, I know a lot of people think Mike Elko is a good defensive coordinator, and I think he is. But,
I'd be worried if A&M, their defense, I don't think is that good at all.
Especially if you knew what was coming and you still gave up all those yards. You know what I mean? That says a lot. It really does. And that's also why I'm excited about this offense, because I know this O-line, Gerby Lambert's going to get better, right? He's going to get better. Ashton Craig's going to get a little bit better. I love what I see in Billy right now. I love what Billy's doing. I think he's going to be really solid. I love to see Nat bounce back. I thought Emil Wagner bounced back and played better. They're going to get better, that front, and they're going to be able to run the ball. And boy, look out, man. When Notre Dame starts hitting some home runs, some big plays in the run game, that passing game is going to open up. And finally, you have a quarterback and some receivers who can do something with it. And that's where things are going to get fun. And so I remember texting you yesterday, saying, hey, I feel better about this on offense than I did even after the game. And yes, it sounds like you feel the same.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think where they're at is way further ahead than I expected them to be, especially given that first 2 games. And I just think the step that they made from obviously they were going to be at home. They had to buy. Yeah, I knew that they were going to look better. But I mean, certainly thought the defense was going to have it, and they didn't make that jump. So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot, so much encouraging there. And I mean, we can say that I don't think that Elko's defense, I'm just saying they're not going to be elite. No, that Texas A&M one, not going to be there. I think they still have some holes there. But if you look at the kind of the rest of the schedule for Notre Dame, they're not going to face defenses with anything close to that group on the defensive line. That's for sure. So, and that is ultimately, going to be the biggest. So like, I think that the offense can really they could take off. And I think when it comes down to it too, if we're talking about would you trade Carr for this quarterback or that quarterback, out of the guys that are going to be there, that are going to be around for years, right? So, Underwood, like you said, Marcel Reed, would you trade? I think if he played in that game for A&M, Carr would have thrown for 400 against Notre Dame.
Easily.
I actually, way more. I believe that
probably 500, probably 500,
right?
So because he would have probably hit a few of those plays that those big plays that Reed did not. I think he would have.
Yeah, and I think when you look at not to be, I kind of think it's unfair to be everybody's just dunking all over Arch Manning, but Arch Manning, DJ Lagway, these guys are hyped. They're are these guys going to be that quarterback class and this, whatever? Those guys getting so hyped up, no one right now off of these, it's just off of 2 games, but you wouldn't trade Lagway or Arch Manning for CJ Carr right now.
No way. Not even close. I wouldn't even think about it. All right, we're going to talk Purdue. Before we do, we wanted to mention our other sponsor, which is ESQ Clothing, founded by ND alum Ge Wang, and Chicago's go-to for the best custom suits, shirts, and sport coats. As Notre Dame reloads for the season, now's the time to refresh your wardrobe and add the perfect suit, sport coat, tuxedo, or casual jacket for fall. ESQ Master Tailors combine master-level craftsmanship with the finest fabrics to deliver a fit that's built just for you. Now with showrooms both downtown Chicago and in Winnetka, book your custom fitting and step into confidence with Chicago's finest. Mention ISD at your appointment. Receive 10% off your entire purchase. Once again, that's esqclothing.com. Yama, Purdue, it's kind of interesting. I didn't get to watch a lot of the game. I was very excited to watch it, but then they had the rain delay. So I was watching LSU in Florida, and I didn't really get a chance to watch. And, of course, the Notre Dame game. I could only kind of keep 2 things going at the same time. But, SC didn't put a lot of points up. One of their points came on a defensive touchdown. So, is Purdue better, or is USC not as good? I mean, did you get a chance to watch them? What do you think here?
I did. I mean, I didn't because of that delay. I didn't, but I watched some of the game later on. One thing I know for sure is USC is not as good as they were in the first 2 games. That is definitely a thing. So I think there's some of that certainly plays with it. But if people are expecting Purdue to be, the train wreck that they were last year, they're way better. They're not even close to that. They're much better than they were. I think that they're clearly better coach. Obviously, Barry Odom came in there from UNLV. He was, the head coach at Arkansas before. He's a longtime defensive coordinator in the SEC as well at Missouri. Or no, he was the coordinator at Arkansas, but he was the head coach of Missouri. Excuse me. But they're just way more competent in everything. And I mean, it's a completely new team. The scouting report for this was just usually when you play back-to-back years with someone, you're oh, you can plug in some of these guys and someone No, literally there's 4 guys that are, that actually played for them last year that are playing for them this year. And they have some guys who redshirted or whatever that are going to play for them this year, but they brought in 50 transfers. it's a completely different team. I think the pass defense is still a mess. They don't have the athletes there. I think that is something that I think if you were going to circle, like, man, I think Carr and the receivers could have a really, really big day. But I don't think they're competitive. They will compete. Probably like SC. I don't think SC played well in that game. That was some of it. But I also think that Purdue is just better. Like, they're competitive. Like, they don't make the same kind of mistakes. They don't put the guys in the same type of bad positions. And on defense too, they're just adequate. They're adequate. They're not good. They're just adequate. And I think that makes a huge, huge difference. And I just want to point out, because I saw this today too, that AJ Gal 21 pointed out that, the top two in QBR, Jaden Maivea from USC and Taylor Green from Arkansas. You almost got to not even count it, early in the season based on some of these things. It's like, if someone posted Steve Angeli's numbers today and you're like, whoa, Angeli, he's doing well. Yeah, he is doing well, but he lit up UConn and Colgate. He didn't light up Tennessee. There's a difference. You got to wait till the guys get into their conference schedule. It's also too why you see USC won convincingly. They won convincingly. It wasn't close. Purdue was in no danger of winning that game. And you win 23 points in the road. Yeah, it's fine, right? But also, Purdue is probably the worst Big Ten team they'll play this year. So it's you got to look at all of that. And USC was so much better than the teams. They played Ball State and Southern Illinois in their first two games, Purdue. So it's it's different. It's a lot different than playing A&M and Miami. Yeah.
The Arkansas game is going to be interesting. We'll talk about that next week, but Purdue's passing attack and Purdue's ability on offense, anything to be concerned about there?
Well, Ryan Brown is a quarterback. He's the guy who played a little bit for them last year, and not against Notre Dame, but he was the primary backup, and then he played and started a couple of games. He's okay, but he's not a runner. He's not someone who's that dangerous in that way, in the same way that, they don't have to worry about him in that same sense. He will run, but he's not dynamic, right? He's not a super dynamic guy. Their receivers are decent athletes, but they're not, they don't have a Craver or Concepcion. Yeah. They don't have that, exactly. Right? Devin Mockabee is a good back, right? He's a really good receiver too. So that's something to kind of worry about there. And obviously when it comes to responsibilities and all that, we got is Notre Dame going to be on their P's and Q's with that? I think there's that right now too, with Notre Dame's pass defense. You just have to see okay, can they get, because if they played the same way against Purdue, they're probably not giving up 360, but they're giving up 290 or something, that is, something that can happen. So they have it. To me, it's all about how Notre Dame plays, and they will dictate it. But obviously you're not going to expect Freeman talked about the 6 big plays that they gave up, that those 6 big plays totaled more than 13 of 16 games last year, total passing yards for Notre Dame that they gave up in a game. And that includes, never gave against Ohio State. They gave up less passing yards than just those 6 plays. So concerning to say the least.
And that's why I think that everybody who thinks that Marcus Freeman is thinking, oh, well, status quo, we just got to coach him better. They're crazy. No, I mean, he knows. And he's going to go in there and do what he has to do to try and fix it. Now, that doesn't mean he will or can, but he's not stupid. And I'm sure that the defense is going to see a whole lot of Marcus Freeman this week And my guess is Chris Ash and Marcus Freeman are going to have a whole lot of conversations, and probably already have had a whole lot of conversations. So we'll see if it gets fixed this week. I wanted to say thanks to, first of all the people that are in our chat. Our chat keeps growing every week. People keep coming to the live version of Power Hour on YouTube, and we get a lot of you people in here. You guys do a great job of questions and comments. So thanks for coming in and watching the show, and we greatly appreciate that. And if you want to check it out on YouTube, you can find us, search for Irish Sports Daily. Please like and subscribe to the channel. That certainly helps us. And thanks for listening. Hopefully we're talking about a big win. I keep saying that they better win this week or things are going to get ugly, Jamie, really ugly. But I don't think that I'd be really surprised if they didn't win this week, but will they look better is the big question. And I got to believe they'll look better.
I think they'll look better. Just
how much?
Now it's all about, like, when you play like that, it's about, like, you completely reset the expectations, and which is why you can't think of, well, Notre Dame is out because they have to win 10 straight and they won't have enough, whatever. Forget all that. It's like, can the defense actually get back to being good? Can that happen? Because remember, the defense was dominating the offense in camp, and
what happened?
Yes. So
yeah, what happened? It is what it is, and hopefully they can get it figured out. I gotta believe Marcus Freeman is going to be glued to the defensive side, and especially because the offensive side, when you watch the film, you have to feel like, okay, well, we got to clean a few things up here and execute some things and maybe call a few things a little bit differently. But at the same time, this thing's about ready to take off, I think, and I'm excited about it. All right, folks, that's going to be it. Thanks for listening. We will talk to you next week on Power Hour.